Okay, for the third part, we will talk about the view and the grid. How can we control the view and how can we control the grid? So the view in Tekla structure is different than the view in AutoCAD. In Tekla structure, the view is an object that can have its own properties, and you can control this. You can copy the view and create different views at different directions, and you can save them. To have the characteristics of the view or to show the properties of the view, you double click on it like this. You will have this form. So here you can find that there is a name for the view. There is an angle here. You can select it, or you can select the automatic angles here, or it can be plane view or 3D view. The projection also, it can be orthogonal or perspective. So please, I encourage all of you to try this, okay? To try these different option, and after you try any option, you can just, for example, if I select plane here, you click modify. As long as this is selected here and you have uh, this red border around it, okay, so you can just say modify and you can see what will happen. Okay, okay, color also, colors and transparency. So you can select the colors. Okay, here control the colors scheme of the view. Also the visibility depth, this is very important. The view is characterized by XY plane. So any view will have its own XY plane. And this will be a local XY plane and its name is work plane. We have also the global coordinate system. It is different than the local coordinate system or the work plane. Okay, in the Z direction here, which is perpendicular to the plane, you can identify the depths of the view. It can be like 10 feet up and 10 feet down. So this is very nice in controlling the view of multi-story structures, for example. So you can show a specific view and here hide the other specific elements and hide the others. Uh, you can also control which objects or which type of objects you need to display. For example, here I can hide the points, I can hide the parts, I can hide the bolts, I can hide the holes, the welds, and you can do this. For example, we have bolts. We might have bolts directly attached to elements, or we can have bolts inside the connections. And the connections here are the elements that connect the beams to each other, or beams or columns to each other, or structural elements to each other. So we can control bolts inside them or bolts already directly attached to the beams or the structural elements that are not related to the components. Okay, we will go through this if we need during the modeling process. Uh, okay, you can also these options here are really useful. We will go to them whenever we need. So this is the view now, and the most important thing I need you to know is the view depth up and down. So I can say, for example, 10 feet up and 10 feet down like this, and say modify. Okay, this will not affect me right now because I don't have any objects to see or to show. So I will say okay now. Okay, so we now done with the view. We will return back to the view later. But now let's go to the grid. So this is the grid here, and the grid help us to perform our model. We have here three axes or three axes in the vertical direction, and we have six axes in the horizontal direction. So I will start to build this. Okay, how to do this? We have to go to the properties of the grid, and to go to the properties of any object, we just need to double click on it. So I will double click on the grid. Sorry. Okay, so the grid is not selected, so I have to it is not activated. The selection grid option is not activated from the last video. So I will activate it right now. So I can select the grid and I will double click on it. So here you can see the coordinates of your grid lines, the labels of your grid line, the extension of your grid line. Okay, for the coordinates, we can just uh, put the distances between the different grid lines for X and Y case. For Z, you have to put the coordinate of the grid. So X and Y are the horizontal coordinates. So let's see this, or let's understand this by using the example. In the X direction, we have two grid lines. The distance is 39 foot and 4 inches, 39 feet and 4 inches. So I have two, okay, times 39 foot, and I will put dash 4 inches, okay. So the foot mark is single quotation like this, and the inch mark is double quotation. Okay, okay. So I will say now modify. And when I say modify, you have to keep this selected like this. It is selected now. So I will say modify. What I will have, I have like one, two, three grid lines. The three grid lines is one and two and three. So they're labels one, two, and three. So I don't need the 4 and 5. If you leave them, you will have no problem. But I like to remove them because we don't need them. Okay, let's go to the Y direction now. In the Y direction, we have how many distances? One, two, three, four, 5 distances. And every distance is 17 foot and 1 inch, 17 feet and 1 inch. Okay, so again, we have 5 distances, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, okay, 5 times 17 single quotation dash 1 double quotation like this. And I would say modify. Okay, so I have our grid line like this. If we return back to the AutoCAD, we will have the names from A to F. So I have A, B, C, D, E, and F. Modify again. Okay, so I have the grid line. Okay, so I can just say Control P, Control P. This is also from the options that I want you to know. So if you select the grid like this, or if you select the view like this, and say Control P, switch from the two-dimensional view to the three-dimensional view. Okay, so this video about the grid and the view. So we will jump from the view to the grid, and from the grid and view, and several times. Okay, so please save this option. Okay, okay. What else we need to know? We need to identify the heights. So I will create a grid line at 19 and 8 inches. And as I said before, we put here the coordinates. We don't put, in the case of Z direction, we put the coordinates. So absolute distance from 0. So I have 19 foot and 8 inches, as I remember. Yes, 8 inches. 8 inches. And this will be one grid line. If you need to create another grid line, so I have a grid line at 0 and the grid line at 19 and 8 inches. I can also create grid line at 23, 23 and 3 inches, 23 and 3 inches. And as I said, we don't put the distance, we just put the absolute height, 23 foot and 3 inches like this. Okay, now I will put just the approximate height here for title. So I will put 20, and here I will put 23. Okay, you can put the size with inches, but I don't like this. Okay, what about the line extension? The line extension give you this length here, this length, the length from one, like the extension here. Let me annotate this, like this distance here and this distance here. This is called the extension. So I will leave it as is. I will not control this, but if you want to control this, it is easy. Just change this number, select the grid like this, and say modify. The other options here, we will not need them. You can, for example, control the colors. So if you need, for example, to use red or something like this, okay, uh, where is it? Okay, colors here, this. Okay, so you can, for example, select red here, blue. Okay, so we have blue grids here. So I don't need to modify anything else. Let's just check this. So I have 1, 2, 3 in X. I have A, B, C, D, E, F, N, Y, and I have 0, 20, and 23, and these are the exact heights. Okay. Okay. Now before we go again to the grid, I need to show you some very important options. Again, we talk about control P, control P, control P, switch between the two-dimension view and three-dimension view. Also, the middle button of the mouse, it zooms in and out like this. And this is if you rotate it, or if you scroll it, and if you click on it and drag at any direction, it will pan the view like this. And if you control and you press on the control button and press on the middle button of the mouse, it will make rotate like this. It will rotate the view like this. You can select V, you can press on V button, V letter on your keyboard, and select any point to change the center of the rotation. Okay, change the center of the rotation. Okay, what else? We don't have anything else important. Okay, related to the fast view options. Again, we have zoom in and out by rotating the middle button. We can do pan by click on the middle button and drag. We have also, if we press in control, press on the middle button and drag, it will cause rotation like this. And we can control the center of rotation by using the V by pressing on the V button in the keyboard. If you look here, you will find a transparent box around a specific area. This is called the work area. If you need to fit the work area to the new grid, you need just to click on the view, right click, and I will say fit work area to entire model like this. The work area, like uh, it is very important. We will talk about this in details later when we need it. What else? So we set up the grid and we control the view, and uh, else. Okay, if you go to window here, this button here, we can say cascade here. So you can move your view like this. Okay, and you can minimize it like this. You can maximize it like this. Okay, now I need to create a grid line, or I need to create a view at all the grid lines here. So what I will do, I just will click on the grid line, right click, and go to create. Okay, the grid line should be selected. So I have to select it like this. Right click, sorry, and I will say create view along grid line. I will have this form here. So I can create XY views, ZY views, and XZ views at all the grid lines that I have. And you can add prefix like this. So now I will add the prefix. I will say PL or plan views, and I will call the uh, I will call the XY views, the XZ views as side views, a side, so SD for example, and the XZ views or the Y, sorry, the YZ views, I will call this elevations. So elevation, and all. Okay. The XZ views, I will call these side like this. So don't use a very long prefix because you will not be able to see the whole length of the view if it's named very long. Don't control anything else. Okay, just say create or just click create. You will see that you have your view list filled with a lot of views here. So elevation 1 mean elevation at axis 1. Elevation 2 mean elevation at axis 2. Elevation 3 elevation at axis 3, and so on. So I will select this. Here you can see the elevation. Okay, the elevation which is the YZ plane. I will go to view list again. I want to look at the side view. This is the side view where we can see 1, 2, and 3 axes. Okay, you can switch between the open views here. If we go to the view list, we can see that we have 3D view, and we have elevation view, and we have side view A. So we can switch between them by using control tab. And if you go to any of these views and select it like this and click on control P, so you will switch between the 2-dimension and the 3-dimensional case. Okay, what else? Okay, this is enough for this video. So I will stop the recording now.